So after releasing my Patreon video yesterday, did I regret it? Not really, because thanks to you guys supporting, a lot of people have decided to pledge to me and make life easier and make becoming a YouTuber on this platform once more a feasible option for myself. Yeah, there were some hate comments and some not so nice stuff said, but overall the results and everything have been really positive, so I want to thank every single one of you that have pledged to me through Patreon. As you guys do know, if you guys pledge a certain amount, there are many things you guys can do. Many privileges like sneak peek videos that other people don't get to see, in my future live streams, an opportunity to tell your stories live or even to co-host with me and stuff like that. So email me personally if you have pledged, and if you guys do want those offers or those things, just send me a message and I'll arrange that for you guys. Thank you guys so much once again for supporting the Patreon in this time of need. And yeah, let's get to the ghost stories, guys. Grab a blanket, turn on for lights for our 6 true scariest hauntings out there. Haunted. Shadow person entity stalks my son. This is a true story that happened to me and my family, but all names have been changed. We live in an ex-industrial town in the north of England, so think lots of houses crammed together and built quickly to create accommodation for mill workers. There are about 4 ex-mills in my town, and one had just been torn down to make room for new houses in the area. My name is Emily, and I think there's something weird that's taken a liking to my son. Things started a while back now, when my son moved into his own room around 18 months. He was the perfect little sleeper, but all of a sudden he started waking up at 3 a.m. every morning and would scream the house down, often waking up his big sister. Okay, so I know babies aren't notoriously good at sleeping, and sure, moving a baby into a new space is probably gonna mess up their schedule, but this felt different to when my daughter June was little. Something just felt off about that room. When we first moved in here, my son was still quite young, so my partner used it for an office, and when he used this room, he always felt down and would always argue constantly. But as soon as he stopped using it, everything got better. This story actually starts with my partner, really. One night, my son woke up at around 1 a.m. in the morning, so he brought him into our bed, but there was little space and we needed to be up early. My partner, Ash, volunteered to sleep in our son's room, as Bruce settled better with me. Now my partner is a big guy at 6'5", so lying in a single bed was quite a struggle for him, and prevented him from sleeping, which defeats the purpose of him going in there, if you ask me. So at 3 a.m., Ash was still awake on his phone when he saw a shadow pass the doorway. But he later described it to me, how it seemed as though it continued forward, which is impossible, as next to Bruce's room is a wall and it would need to turn at the stairs. At first, my partner thought it was just me, so he called my name, and when he heard my sleepy reply from the other side of the house, he got freaked out and ran back to our room. Present day. The shadow person continued to disturb Bruce, so he swapped rooms with his sister, and the shadow has never disturbed her. June's old room is in the attic, and since he slept there, he has rarely woken up in the night. Although on occasion, I'll see the shadow standing at the bottom of the attic stairs, staring up, and when I try to get close to it, it just fades away. Even more terrifying is when Bruce isn't feeling well. He'll want to sleep in our bed, and sometimes one of us will spot the shadow standing in our doorway. Its eyes are white spheres, and it has an inhuman figure. And when it notices one of us looking at it, it flees, and we hear the loose floorboard creaking in the hallway. I don't know if this entity is malicious, but I have read about shadow people, and found out they are attracted to people with health issues, and my son has a medical condition. I just hope one day it will leave him alone. The further. This is something I've been experiencing since I was around 8 years old. I'm 31 now. I hope I'm not alone in this, but has anyone ever experienced going into a different sleep state? It's hard to explain, but it's kind of like in the movie Insidious, when the dad and the son went into the further. Sometimes I feel myself go into this state. I start to feel tingling, I guess. I can't describe the internal feeling, but it's like reality is warping. Then, in this state, I'm in the same room I fell asleep in, but it's all dark. Not normal dark, but like a void of darkness. In this darkness, though, I can feel evil, like a straight demonic heaviness. I don't know how to convey how evil it is. But I also sense the creatures or entities that are hiding within the darkness, like they're just waiting there for me to come in. Somewhat like the movie Pitch Black, when the creatures roll around in the dark. I'm referencing a lot of movies, I know, just trying to give you a better understanding. So, when I was a kid, I didn't know what this was. I just thought I was having nightmares because this experience has always followed by sleep paralysis. Over the years, I was able to see when this feeling was coming on, so I could shake myself out of it. Although sometimes it's very, very hard to. It doesn't happen as often as it used to when I was a little kid. But when I feel it coming on, I always shake myself out of it. It's one of the scariest feelings I've ever had. The last time I experienced this was last year at school. I was falling asleep in the lounge and I felt myself going into this state. It had been a while, so I decided to let myself go, just to see what would happen. As soon as I started, I was in the lounge, but it was completely dark, with just a spotlight on me. I started to walk around, but could feel that I wasn't alone. At that moment, I tried looking in the darkness, and there were demon creatures in the darkness. It was like they were waiting for me, trying to get me. I instantly became paralyzed with fear. I immediately woke myself up to get out of there. That feeling was pure terror. I felt like they wanted to tear me apart, consume my soul. I don't think I'll allow myself to go into that state again. My encounter with wandering souls. Dear Horror Studio 1, I have 2 stories to share with you that happened within days of each other. I watched the video on your story about your encounter in the Malaysian Highlands, and I thought about sharing mine. So, this encounter happened when my family and I went on a 3-day holiday trip to Genting Highlands. We had taken the bus from Singapore all the way to the Highlands on an unpleasant 6-hour ride. When we were checking into the hotel, I remember seeing 2 large nutcracker dolls decorating the lobby in the jolly spirit of Christmas. Nothing seemed unusual about the hotel. It was a standard family room with 2 queen-size beds, a bathroom, a television, and a fridge. The following day, my family and I had woken up extra early so we could enjoy ourselves at the theme park. I remember the morning scene vividly. My father and my brother were looking out the window, admiring the morning fog that blanketed the Genting skies. My mother was ushering me to get ready so we could leave for the theme park. "Mom, could you make way? Someone is trying to walk." My mom looked utterly confused. I told her that I just saw a young lady walk into our bathroom. Being a 6-year-old child then, it did not occur to me that it was abnormal when a young lady appears out of midair and starts walking into your bathroom of your hotel room that no stranger should have access to. "What lady?" my mom asked as she opened the bathroom door to inspect it. I described to her the lady that I had just witnessed walking into our bathroom. The entity had long, dark, and kept hair, completely covering her face. She had a handbag slung on her shoulder and was clad in a casual outfit of the early 2000s. As expected, the bathroom was empty. There was no lady, no nothing. The lady did not frighten me, neither did I get a bad feeling or vibes from her, or evil vibes at all. However, that night, my mom was unable to sleep, as she was frightened from the paranormal experience. Later on, when we came back to Singapore, we had found out that a young female was murdered in the hotel that we had stayed in, and her lifeless body was stuffed into a mattress. I am not sure if the wandering soul that I witnessed was her, but I do pray for her to be able to rest in peace. So, a few days passed and it was time to go home. My family and I boarded the bus back, and I spent the next 6-hour travel sleeping on the uncomfortable hard seats. Once we arrived, my mom woke me up. All of a sudden, my heart started beating really fast and I had this dreaded feeling in my chest. I started bawling, and my parents tried to calm me down. They kept telling me that we would be home soon, thinking I started crying due to my sleep being interrupted. I felt this horrible feeling in my chest and was terribly upset, but I did not know why. I continued crying for a good hour until I fell asleep again. The following day, my parents had brought me back to Ustaz, a religious teacher in Islam, and told them about the whole ordeal. The Ustaz asked if anything had happened while we were on the bus back to Singapore. My parents said that there was an accident that had happened on the road that we were driving on. A motorcyclist had crashed into a car and brutally died upon impact. The Ustaz said that since I was asleep, my soul could have seen the soul of the motorcyclist and was shocked by the encounter. I don't know if you believe in souls, but in Islam, we believe that everyone has a soul, and our body is only a temporary accommodation for our souls on earth before it is lifted into the afterlife once we pass on. You could blame on my childish imagination or whatever, but I really believe this really happened, as I still vividly recall the horrible sinking feeling that I felt while I was crying. P.S. Thank you, Haley, for your hard work and effort on making these videos. Your videos and narrations have accompanied me through the long hours I spent studying for maths. And finally, after 10 long years of education, I passed my maths for a major examination. I hope you would continue your enthusiasm and interest for making YouTube videos. I wish you good luck on your future endeavors. Haunted House Story. Hello, HS1. This starts off like a lot of these stories. I grew up in a haunted house. The spirits, or ghosts, or whatever you want to call them, were mostly letting us know that they were there. Footsteps in the hallways and on the stairs, doors opening and closing, stereos turning on or off or switching stations, etc. One of them was protective. One of the many events that happened concerned a boyfriend of mine when I was 15 and he was 17. He was getting very pushy for sex. On a few occasions, we'd be hanging out watching TV or movies in my upstairs room. After a while, he would start pushing me to do things I was not comfortable with. When this would happen, something always happened to stop it. A picture would fall off the wall, or he'd hear steps on the stairs thinking someone was coming. He used to say my house had the worst timing. I know I was an idiot to stay with him. Hindsight is always 20/20. After another night of us arguing over it in my room, it ended up with me crying. He went to the bathroom, which is across the hall, to cool down. For some background, our house was an older farmhouse, with an oddity of a door in the attic in the bathroom. A few minutes after he had gone into the bathroom, I heard some bumping against the door. I turn down the TV and listen. My boyfriend calls my name, and I tell him there is more toilet paper on the top shelf. He tells me he doesn't need toilet paper, but that the door would not open. He said the lock would not unlock. I thought he was playing a prank, as the lock on that door had never worked since we moved in. The previous owner had broken the mechanism to get into the room for unknown reasons. When I went to the door and tried the knob, it was stuck. There was no give. My boyfriend was knocking, telling me that he couldn't even turn the handle now. I figured he was holding it, and I told him it wasn't funny. He started exclaiming that he was not holding it and that he was starting to feel creeped out. I told him not to worry. I went downstairs and told my mom what was happening. She looked confused, and we grabbed some tools from the porch. I suddenly heard my boyfriend yelling my name. I ran up to the stairs to hear him telling me that the attic door had suddenly swung open. When my mom came behind me, she tried the bathroom door and it was still stuck. My boyfriend told me that he felt like something was in there with him in a quiet voice. He was a huge skeptic of this stuff, so this came across as being very non-characteristic of him. The bathroom window opened onto our front roof. The plan was to have him go there while my mom and sister set up a ladder. I told him to go to the window and take out the screen. He told me that he couldn't go there because it was right next to the attic door and he was frightened. I told him not to worry and that it was probably a breeze. Never mind that the attic door swung inward and there was no wind on a still summer night. I tried to calm him down, but he said the door kept swinging. He was starting to cry. I could hear the ladder being set up on the porch roof. My sister was telling him he could come down now and that we'd fix the door later. I heard him take a few steps towards the window, and as if on cue, the bathroom door opened on its own. One moment I was standing there talking through it. The next thing I could see was my 6'2" boyfriend crouched near the tub, shivering. The attic door was indeed wide open. At that moment, I walked in and helped him up and out, and told him it was just a faulty door. I closed the attic door and checked the bathroom doorknob. The knob worked fine. You could hear the lock mechanism inside sliding around, still broken. As my mom and sister came back in after putting the ladder away, my boyfriend told me that he couldn't feel a breeze. There was no wind when the door swung. I had never told him about the house's peculiar habits. I kept my mouth shut about them. He never came over after that. Ghost Story. Hello Horror Studio 1, first time sending you something, but I've seen your videos since several months ago. Sorry for any spelling mistakes. English is not my first nor second language. I'm from Mexico and well, we have a lot of stories and creepy places down here. I just saw your video, I Need Ghost Stories, and I think it was 2 to 3 weeks ago, and you might already have all the stories you need, but I finally decided to send you mine. I've been thinking of sending it for some months now, just it doesn't have a lot of impact. It doesn't have a conclusion or anything of that sort, and comparing it with the stories you usually post, it might be a little bit weak, but the creepiest part is that, well, we got a lot of witnesses that saw this. If I have the fortune of the story going on one of your videos, I would like to use the pseudonym Draven. Well, let's start. I played Haunted House with a real ghost. It was more than 20 years ago, but that time I was only 8 or 9 years old. I'm male, by the way. It was a normal day, so normal that no one could think that something strange could even happen. It was a sunny afternoon midsummer vacation, so a lot of friends of the neighborhood decided to come to my house to spend the hottest hours of the day. We were 7 in total, my oldest sister, 2 of her friends, 3 of mine, and me. While we wait for the sun to go down to play outside, we decided to play to the haunted house. My mother and the parents of some of my friends were drinking coffee on the first floor. My mother's room had some thick and heavy curtains that make the room look pitch black, so it was perfect for the game. We played with the following rules. First 2 will make a horror maze in a room, and then one by one the other ones would go through it. After anyone passes, he or she would give opinions, so every time the house got creepier. And at last, me and the boy next door were the only ones that hadn't gone through yet. He had a red shirt. I went first, and well, it wasn't that scary. The creepiest part was that when I had to go into a lot of boxes with a dead end, And just when I was about to return, my sister jumped behind me with a plastic vampire fangs and a flashlight down her chin. It was so scary that I said that we should do the same thing to the next person. When my next door friend came in, my job was to stay hidden in the closet next to the door, and when he enters, I should shut the door with force like it was the wind or a spirit who closed it. This is only important because I assure you, I was standing next to the door the whole time. Well, all was without any problems. That was until the dead-end box maze, when my sister spooked my friend on the dead end like before. We all heard he was struggling, and we all saw the bed moving and the sound of wood being slammed. It was like he forced himself under the bed. The only problem is, the space between the bed and the floor was only about 10 or 15 centimeters. Not even a child could go down there. We thought he was having a panic attack, so we opened the drapes to let the sun come in, but when we saw below the bed, there was nothing there. We started looking for him in the room, but he wasn't there. I was standing by the door, so I'm sure no one opened it. When we asked his friend that opened the door at the start, he just said it was dark. I didn't see his face. I'm only sure that he had a bright red shirt. That was creepy. We all remember the same, only a black shadow in place of the head, but a bright red shirt. We didn't think it at that moment, but it was weird that we all saw the shirt that was bright red. At the same time, it was so dark that we couldn't see his face, right? Not even 5 minutes had passed when we all just started panicking and the doorbell rang. Seeing through the window, we saw him. He brought chips and snacks for us all. Then he said, "Sorry guys, my mom called me. She brought this for us. I'm next, right?" When we asked him about what he was talking about, he told us that just after I got into the room, his mother came and told him to help her with the groceries, and he didn't come into that room. He thought we were messing with him for going without saying anything. Of course, we asked our parents if it was true that my friend went out at that time, and they said it was true. To this day, we don't know what really happened. Was it a shadow person, a ghost? Well, I continue to live in that house to this very, very day. I haven't had any other experiences, but this one is the only one in which other than myself have experienced it. Needless to say, my friends didn't come over to my house again, and to this day, my next door neighbor still thinks that it was all just a joke. I talk with my sister a lot of times about this, but since she's gotten married and got kids, she just kind of avoids that conversation in total. Well, at least she can say that she spooked a ghost, right? I really hoped you liked this story. I have some more from myself and from my grandfather as well. He had experience with the so-called Chera Negro that gave me nightmares as a kid. If you'd like it, I could send it to you. Also, how about a series of videos about the haunted buildings on the cities of your followers? And at the end, you could do a map of creepy places, and at the same time, one that is related with your fan base. I could talk about Clover Lawn in my city. We have a lot of famous haunted buildings, but Clover Lawn is not so well known, and its story is a really horror movie material. I could even call it the Mexican Amityville. Well, anyways, thanks a lot for taking the time to read this. I may double check for spelling errors, but it may not be enough. If you have any questions to make the story clearer, please don't hesitate to tell me. Jost In My Bedroom. Hi, my name is Lee and I'm from Southeast Asia. I've been watching your videos since, I don't know, and it was amazing, so yeah, I'd like to share my ghost story encounter. It happened in 2010 when I was 11 years old. That time, I was in 6th grade and was preparing for an upcoming exam. I'm not sure what day it was, but I vividly remember this event because it was my first encounter with a ghost. As a typical human, I went to bed early that night as I covered myself in a blanket, and surprisingly, I fell asleep really fast. Hours passed by, and I was suddenly awakened from my deep sleep. The weird thing was, my eyes don't really feel heavy or sleepy at all. I just woke up as if I never slept at all. I was pretty sure it was around 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. Lying in bed with a blanket covering my body up until my face, it suddenly occurs to me that there was someone or something in my room. I swear my instinct was telling me that there's definitely something in my room. My first choice was to look over my blanket to confirm that if there was something in my room, and my second choice was to shake it off and get back to sleep, as I have to wake up in a few hours. Unfortunately, I made a wrong choice. I chose to look over my blanket. To my horror, I saw a friggin' figure standing in front of my bed near the door. I wanted to scream so badly, but I can't, because I felt like I lost my voice. The figure has long white cloth, which was worn out, and has super long black hair, and yes, it is a Pontiac. I couldn't believe my eyes of what I just saw, and I even rubbed my eyes really hard and blinked really hard to look at it for a second time. I then immediately hid myself under the blanket, hoping it would go away. I couldn't go back to sleep after that, and all I did was shaking throughout the night. Thank God it was facing its back when I was looking over my blanket. Imagine if it was actually showing its face. I told my parents about it the next day, and my dad was like, "Why didn't you scream or call out?" And I told him that I couldn't. My dad is a huge believer of the supernatural beings, and he believed that those things that can manifest itself are capable of harming people. And he went into my room the next night to recite some verses before I went to sleep. I'm not sure if you would believe this. It's difficult for me to explain it. I 100% can guarantee that this event is real. Since that day, I never encountered any other ghosts in my house, but I do feel like there is a presence in my house. Every night, I would try to catch a glimpse of any ghostly manifestation if I was awakened by a sudden. Thank you for reading this.